wrestled a bear. Before Khabib became the undefeated UFC lightweight champion, he was wrestling bears. And no, I'm not being metaphorical here. Picture this. It's the late 1990s in the mountains of Dagestan, Russia. Khabib is just 9 years old, and his father, Abdulmanap, has an unconventional training method in mind. Now, you might be thinking, what kind of training could a 9-year-old possibly do? Running, push-ups, shadow boxing. Wrong. Try wrestling an actual bear cub. There's video footage of this, and it's absolutely wild. Young Khabib, barely bigger than the bear itself, is grappling with this animal in what looks like someone's backyard. The bear is chained, but that doesn't make it any less insane. We're talking about a wild animal with claws and teeth going up against a small child. Now here's where it gets interesting. Khabib's father wasn't doing this just for shock value or to create some viral moment. Abdulmanap was a decorated athlete and combat sports coach who believed in pushing boundaries. He wanted to instill fearlessness in his son from an early age. And what better way to teach a kid to be fearless than to have him wrestle a creature that could literally maul him? The video shows Khabib actually taking the bear down at one point, using techniques that would later become his signature moves in the octagon. Talk about unconventional training methods. While other kids his age were playing video games or soccer, Khabib was learning to grapple with one of nature's most powerful animals. But here's the kicker. This wasn't a one-time stunt. This was part of Khabib's actual childhood training regimen. Years later, when asked about it, Khabib would joke that the bear was one of his toughest opponents. Kicked off a plane. Picture this. It's January 11th, 2025. Khabib is boarding a Frontier Airlines flight. He's retired now, hasn't fought since 2020, but he's heading to California to support his teammates ahead of UFC 311. Everything seems normal. He's got his exit row seat, probably looking forward to some extra legroom. And then, things go completely sideways. Flight attendant approaches Khabib during the customary exit row briefing and asks him multiple times if he's willing and able to assist in the event of an emergency. Standard procedure, right? Except this is where things get heated. In the video that went viral, the staff member tells Khabib, "We're either going to have you switch your seat because my flight attendants are not allowing you to sit in the exit row, or you're going to have to get off this plane because they're not comfortable with you sitting in the exit row." Here's where it gets controversial. The video shows Khabib responding, clearly frustrated. He says, "It's not fair. When I was making check-in, they asked me, 'Do I know English?' I said yes. Then why you guys do this?" He even tells them he knows the language, he knows English, and he knows how to help people. But here's the kicker. The airline claims Khabib didn't respond to their initial questions despite repeated attempts, which placed him in non-compliance with FAA requirements. Khabib's version, he says the lady who came to him was very rude from the beginning, and even though he speaks decent English and agreed to assist, she still insisted on removing him from his seat. So what happened next? After about 2 minutes of conversation, the attendant called security and Khabib was deplaned from the aircraft. The incident sparked massive debate online. Many people accused the airline of racial or religious profiling. Critics on social media pointed to what they saw as discrimination against the Russian Muslim fighter. The airline maintained it was purely about safety compliance and had nothing to do with ethnicity. Fought with a broken foot. It's UFC 254, Fight Island, Khabib versus Justin Gaethje. Here's the thing. This was Khabib's first fight since his father and head coach, Abdulmanap, died in July from complications of COVID. 3 weeks before the fight, Khabib broke his foot. We're not talking about a minor injury here. According to Dana White, Khabib had 2 broken toes and a bone in his foot that was broken. The UFC president even said the fight could have been in jeopardy because of it. Now here's where things get absolutely wild. Khabib never told anyone. He was just walking around as normal. And if that wasn't enough, Khabib's coach Javier Mendez revealed that Khabib also had the mumps 2 weeks before he started his training camp. Talk about everything going wrong at once. Your father just passed away, you've got the mumps, you broke your foot, and you're supposed to fight one of the most dangerous strikers in the UFC. So what happened in the fight? Khabib submitted Gaethje via triangle choke at 1 minute, 34 seconds of the second round. Degree in economics. Now this next fact might surprise you. When you think of Khabib, you probably picture a fierce grappler smashing people in the octagon, right? Well, there's a lot more to the eagle than just fighting. While most UFC fighters are spending every waking hour training, eating, and recovering, Khabib is sitting in a classroom taking economics courses. That's right. Khabib graduated from the Makachkala Finance and Economics College with a secondary vocational education. But he didn't stop there. Khabib earned a graduate degree in finance from the Plekhanov Russian University of Economics. Now, you might be thinking, when did he have time for this? Well, here's the thing. He was enrolled as a 4th-year student at Plekhanov Russian University of Economics while he was still actively fighting in the UFC. Used to be a fan of McGregor. If you follow UFC, you know that Khabib and Conor McGregor have one of the most bitter rivalries in MMA history. But here's something that will blow your mind. They used to be be friendly. Ahead of McGregor's fight at UFC 178, friendly Twitter exchange took place between McGregor and Khabib. At this time, McGregor was still fighting at featherweight and was a rising star. Khabib was an undefeated lightweight prospect, making waves in the division. Here's where it gets interesting. It started when Khabib complimented one of Conor's walkout tees, claiming that he needed to buy it. Now, you might think that's just casual politeness, right? But wait, there's more. Khabib tweeted, "Hey Conor, I'm in Vegas when you come, let me know." He actually wanted to meet up with McGregor in person. And what did Conor say? McGregor responded, "Let's do it, brother. I fly out to Vegas tomorrow. Hit me up and we can train." Khabib and McGregor actually met up and took a picture together. Khabib even posted it on Twitter with the caption, "With Conor McGregor after his unbelievable victory in UFC 178. He called McGregor's performance unbelievable. According to one version of events, the friendship ended when journalists asked Conor how his friend Khabib was doing. The Irishman replied, "My friend Khabib? There are no friends in this business." They say Khabib noted these words, "Bouncer at a nightclub." Now this next story shows just how close Khabib came to never becoming the UFC legend we know today. Before the undefeated record, before the millions of dollars, before the fame, Khabib was on the verge of giving it all up. It's around 2014 and 2015. Khabib is dealing with what every fighter dreads most, back-to-back devastating injuries. In 2014, he suffered torn cruciate ligaments in his knee, and a year later, in the run-up to a scheduled fight with Tony Ferguson, he broke a rib. We're talking about serious career-threatening injuries here, the kind that make you question everything. Now, here's where things get desperate. Back-to-back injuries had forced Khabib to take a 2-year break from fighting. That's an eternity in MMA. Fighters lose momentum, fans forget about you, and younger guys start taking your spot. But the bigger problem? Money. Here's what most people don't realize. Khabib was already considering a bouncer job to earn money. That's right, the future UFC lightweight champion was seriously thinking about standing outside nightclubs, checking IDs, and breaking up drunk fights. Think about that for a second. Khabib as a bouncer? Can you imagine walking up to a club and seeing the eagle at the door? Talk about the most overqualified security guard in history. Khabib's managers? A terrorist. It's October 4th, 2018, the UFC 229 press conference. Conor McGregor and Khabib are sitting across from each other, and the tension is already through the roof. But then McGregor turns his attention to someone else in the room. Khabib's manager, Ali Abdelaziz. Here's where things get absolutely explosive. McGregor said, "He was pulled off of a flight going from Cairo, Egypt to New York City on September 11th, 2001. He was caught with 5 passports in his possession. He turned informant and turned on the people that he was working with. I don't even know how that man is in this country." Now here's where the story gets even crazier. After being imprisoned on charges of document forgery in 2002, Abdelaziz was recruited by NYPD Deputy Commissioner of Intelligence David Cohen to work undercover collecting intelligence on Muslims of America, also known as Jamaat al-Fuqra, a group allegedly connected with terrorist organizations. That's right, Khabib's manager became a spy. He was issued a green card, became one of the NYPD's highest paid informants, and even cooperated with the FBI. But here's the twist. The FBI eventually began to suspect he was operating as a double agent, particularly after he was reportedly administered a polygraph examination. The FBI ended its relationship with Abdelaziz, and the American government unsuccessfully attempted to deport him. Think about that for a second. The FBI thought their own informant might be playing both sides, tried to deport him, and failed. And now this same guy is managing one of the biggest stars in UFC history. Slapped Artem Lobov. Now this next story is what set off the most infamous incident in UFC history, and it all started with a slap. UFC 223 is just days away. Khabib is preparing for his title fight against Max Holloway. Everything should be focused on the upcoming bout. But then, something happens that changes everything. Here's the backstory. Artem Lobov had given an interview with Russian media where he was highly critical of Khabib, claiming McGregor, and not Khabib, is the real champion. And what exactly did Lobov say? Khabib pulled out 6 times already. He always pulls out of fights. If something hurts a little bit, his ass or whatever, he pulls out. He can't even make weight. He doesn't give a shit about his fans. Conor shows up every time, no matter what. He's a true fighter, he's a true champion. Champion isn't just belt around your waist, it's mentality, it's your heart. Conor's a real champion, and Khabib is not even close. Now, if you know anything about Khabib, you know he doesn't let disrespect slide. So what happened when Khabib and Lobov crossed paths at a hotel in Brooklyn? Khabib and his entourage confronted Lobov. The two exchanged words in Russian, with Khabib demanding Lobov keep his name out of his mouth before walking up to Artem and appearing to slap him across the face.